This video is about life's purpose. More specifically, what my life's purpose would be, as far as what I have always thought internally would bring me happiness. And that would to be serve the masses as much as possible. Give felons and people with criminal records a second chance. Provide schooling and education in different fields, such as trades. Perhaps even have a plumbing and HVAC company and employ those felons or so-called criminals in my company. Another example would be trucking school, providing educational programs. One example being trucking schooling for individuals who are seeking a second chance in life. Now, while a lot of people will go out there and try to become rich with the end goal of to go out there, trying to obtain money that way. If you're just looking for money to get rich, you're just providing services to get rich. And that's what's going to make you happy. I think that is the wrong way to look at things in life. For me, while becoming wealthy or becoming so-called rich may be a byproduct of the services that I will provide, it will not be the main reason or the main objective of why I would do what I would do. I come from a past with a lot of struggle, a lot of experience, a lot of things I've had to experience my age and even younger. From the time I was born up until now. And I can relate to a lot of situations, which has basically molded me and molded my mind into seeing the world in a different perspective. Where a lot of people would just be out for them and their own or their families and providing what services they could on a small scale, or what they think that would be the cap of their limit on how much they could help, essentially not playing God, as I've heard some people say. However, I think that's a bunch of shit. You don't have to play God, but you can still definitely make a huge impact. For all the companies that turn down a felon, for all the people who don't give somebody a second chance, potentially made a wrong turn or a lapse in judgment, to give them a record, to make it hard for them to strive to be anything more, to even believe in their mind that they could be anything more. That's what they're presented with. Rehabilitation in prisons and jails, I guess it's getting a little better now, possibly, to some extent, but I really don't believe that that's true rehabilitation. I believe true rehabilitation is in communion or service for one another. And while you may be nice to somebody because that's just the right thing you should do, some people may be nice to somebody because they're looking to get something out of somebody. And that's not the right reasons to be nice to somebody. It's all a matter of perception. It's all a matter of hidden agendas. Hidden agendas are wrong. Doing the right things for the right reasons are right. And even if they don't produce a whole lot of wealth or a whole lot of income, they'll still bring you a piece of spirituality that money simply can't buy. The whole reason why I would want to have these programs, have these businesses in place, is so I could help the people who are disenfranchised and make people feel like they have hope, true hope, a second chance, not just some website, maybe for recovery or something, for example. Or they could spend millions of dollars on a facility and make it look like a millionaire lives in a mansion or something. Maybe the program's real good. But what about when they get back out again? How do you go from that to going back out into society again? What about these crappy wages that people pay? Minimum wage, money. It's always something you can get back. They talk about skill sets. They talk about cashiers, for example, how virtually anybody could be a cashier. So thus that skill set is only worth maybe minimum wage or $10 an hour. But you think about how long an hour is. You think about 40 hours a week. And you think about that money that they're going to put towards rent or bills or what have you. And if they do provide benefits, they're pretty shitty benefits anyway. But they don't know any better. They lack education. Education isn't memorizing terms. Education, in a larger perspective, is opening your horizons, your perception onto the world, for seeing the world as it truly is. And I'll admit that my perception isn't all there. That's part of my problem. For the longest time, I've been trying to figure out how I could go about these businesses. 28 years old now. I've been thinking this stuff since I was 17 years old. Yeah, I've helped people out along the way. Yeah, I've tried to do a lot of things to improve upon myself, put myself in a better position in life so I can help others. But due to my lack of knowledge and understanding, failing to find a good mentor who shares maybe the same mindset that I do, it's difficult for me to even know where to begin. For example, with a business. How would I go about getting a loan? What kind of business would I get into? There's all kinds of different things to think about. The point is, everything is services. Everything, everywhere you go, it's all services. The internet, that's a big component too. Instant access, anybody, virtually almost worldwide, can be connected on the internet. So I have to take that fact and try to implement it with something, with some kind of business, multiple businesses, to help as many people as I possibly could. So I could provide them with decent wages. So they could receive benefits for them and their families, even if it were to come out of my own pocket. Because for me, it wouldn't be about doing it for the money. For me, it would be about providing as many different kinds of services as I could. Because I'm sure not all convicts or felons want to be a CDL driver. I'm sure some of them can't have the privilege to be a CDL driver. I don't want to have any limitations for anybody. For each individual is uniquely different. So I would like to be able to provide every and anything possible that I could offer, even early on. That's my true purpose. That's what would truly make me happy. Me working as a security guard and trying these trade jobs and having people don't tell me not to touch this because I might fuck it up. Obviously, I'm going to screw it up. Anytime you do something for the first time or you're new to something, it's inevitable that you will screw it up. Everybody screws up in the beginning. Some people take longer than others. I happen to take longer than others. My biological mother was borderline retarded. No fault of my own. This is what I've been given. I've also been given this mindset. So while I have this mindset, I would like to try to help as many people as I possibly could on a massive scale. Because I take a look around at the world for what it is. I take a look at history. And then even religious history and the crazy things that people have done, in the past, all the way up until today. And what we do today, 50 or 100 years from now, may seem like setting a witch on fire nearly 100 years ago. They might look at they might look at us 100 years from now, back in 2020. You're like, wow, the way some of those people live, man, it was savage. These jails or these detention centers, cramming 3 grown men into a cell with piss on the floor, eating nothing but cheese sandwiches, having these fake CEOs walk by, just ignoring you. You're asking for a call or you're asking when you're going to get out. Well, I'll find out for you. I'll find out for you. And that time never comes. Yeah, man. If I was able to do that, I think that's what would make me truly happy. And I wouldn't even have to run it all. I could be at the top of the pyramid eventually. Have a trickle down effect, HR people, attorneys, and things like that. Everything that comes with business. Probably go for finance and business as far as the bachelor's degree. But when you have that kind of mindset like I do, and then you compare it to, say, just taking your average job, it's depressing. Because it's like, yeah, I'm doing my part. Put my 25, 30 years in. But the point is, the way things are out there right now, there's a whole lot of need. There's a whole demand for improvement. And I've noticed this mindset that I have, unless other people just have a tendency to keep it to themselves, or they've given up on that mindset altogether. These doubters, these people who say it's not possible. I'm saying it's possible. And I know it's possible because I see people out there who have businesses. I see trucking schools. I see HVAC and plumbing businesses. I see rehab facilities. I see psych wards. And yeah, maybe even sometimes food and stuff like that's not the best in those kinds of places, perhaps. And the staff may not even seem to be all that helpful. But the people who have the problems, similar problems to one another, are the ones that seem to help themselves out. And it doesn't matter if you're in a jail cell, and it doesn't matter if you're in $1 million rehab. As long as you have that connection, you can pretty much be anywhere. And that's all you need. I feel like my life's going to waste. I'm feeling rather depressed because I'm 28 years old. I've come to realize that I can't figure everything else out on my own. Can't figure things out on my own. Question a lot of things. A lot of things don't seem to make sense to me. But, you know, just like religion, Christianity. I go to church on Sundays. I would like to believe that there's something greater out there. But then they talk about like China and, reading Bibles and shit over there and, you know, mutilating and torturing even senior women and all these horrific things over religion. It's like, well, there was a God out there. Why would he allow that to happen? I'd say some people say, well, I put my faith that God won't, that won't happen. But then it does happen. So how do you explain that? And then it's like, oh, well, that's God's will. It's like, well, why would that be God's will? That just contradicts everything that he says in his word. But then it's like, oh, well, the world is evil and all that. We live in sin. The flesh is born in sin. I just can't. There are things, I will admit, there are things in this life that have happened to me that I have not been able to explain. If I'm paying attention to it. When I pay attention to it, there are things in this world that happen to me that I can't explain. So that leads me to believe that maybe there is something. Not to mention, if you want to hide something, just put it in plain sight. I mean, just take a look around. We're the only animal on the earth that builds structures and buildings and skyscrapers and has mathematics and engineering. Then they talk about evolution and all this shit. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there 1,000 years ago. Supposedly with Jesus and stuff. I wasn't there when he was alive. I don't know what really happened. Some theorize that the Romans just created the religion just to control the masses. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not a scholar. I'm just a layman. And it's really hard to decipher, but I do know one thing. I don't want to just go into something blindly believing in it unless I'm 100% sure that it's true. And I owe it to myself if I will follow that 100%. I do owe it to myself to research it and read through the Bible and educate myself. Um, I don't know. I mean, when you think about it, this planet that we're on in space, I don't think it's by accident. And I find it highly unusual that out of all of the animals that have evolved or have ever existed on this planet, even with our closest primates being chimpanzees, things like that. Um, it's just so unusual to me how we're the only so-called high intelligence on the planet out of all of the species. I'm not sure how many species there are, and I don't even think they could be numbered because I'm pretty sure they still discover new ones every day. Um, but just kind of makes you wonder. I've never been out in space. And they say stuff like, "Oh, well, we used to believe that the world was flat, and if you kept floating on a ship, you would fall off the edge of the earth." Then they have satellites and things like that up in space, whatnot, and the moon and all this stuff. I don't know. It's hard to know because people are so caught up in their lives. They're so caught up in doing whatever they're doing every day to keep them busy. So they don't sit and wonder and think about this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that I deny God, but I'm not saying that I'm 100% there either. I would like to be, but maybe not. I don't know. Religion's killed a lot of people. There are a lot of things that people normally wouldn't do, unless a lot of ungodly things people wouldn't normally do, unless, of course, there's a great rationalization for it. Like you wouldn't just go kill somebody, but if somebody else did some horrific act, they would just look at the crime and be like they deserve capital punishment. But they may not examine always, sometimes, but not always. They may not always examine the motives behind what the reason was on why that person did what they did. And they always seem to get to these people too late. And they don't understand how to rehabilitate these people properly. And it's passed down generation from generation. You're raised in an abusive home or a home with alcohol or drugs or what have you. You grow up seeing that. Then you don't know what normal is until maybe you step in foot of a friend's house and take a look around and it's nothing like your environment. Then you begin to think that's abnormal. I don't know, man. It's just one screwed up world. I think so many things need to be rewritten. I think the motives for a lot of institutions out there are for the profit, are for the money. And that doesn't help anybody. Even if you have an ungodly amount of money, why? Why would you need all that? As far as me, I would be content in a $200,000 house. If I had a shitload of money, I would be content with a $200,000 house, maybe 300,000 in a decent area. No, because it wouldn't just be for the house or the glamour of the house. Of course, in real estate, they always talk about location. It would be about the location. It would be about the public schooling system. It would be about, are my kids going to be safe when they go to school? Do they have security measures? When they go to school, they're going to be okay. Or what's their graduation rate? What's their dropout rate? Things like that matter because that's their foundation to build upon. This stuff's important. It's not just about a $300,000 house. It's a nice bonus, but it's not all about that. Just saying, the world's a pretty screwed up place in a lot of ways. Lack of pay, people struggling. Nobody wants to pay the benefits. I wouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people don't. As long as people are willing to accept minimum wage, as long as people are willing to accept $10 an hour, figured that's not going to do it. Close the door when you're done. As long as people are willing to accept $10 an hour, they're going to keep paying you that. I think it's up to the masses to say, hey, this $10 an hour, or this minimum wage, it's not enough for me to get by on. In a very real way, you're almost better off on welfare. Seriously. Because if you have a job where you're making $20 or $30 an hour, you're still going to be paying your Medicaid and all this, right? You're still going to be paying your food, for your food every week or whatever. You're still going to be paying your taxes. But then you're making minimum wage, you're not making enough money. And if that's your only source of income, and it's under $1,200 a month in a lot of states, you'll qualify for food stamps. That'll take care of your food for the month. If you're smart with how you shop. Then you'll get free medical. If you get a regular job making at least $20 an hour, you would have to pay that anyway. Not to mention, when you make more, they take more tax money now. I'm talking about anywhere from 20 to maybe 40,000 a year. They're going to be taking more federal tax out, things like that. So really, whether you're making $10 an hour or $20 an hour, it's almost better making $10 an hour, because the government programs will make up for that extra 10. If you just want to say, yeah, I'm making 20, it's like, yeah, you're making 20, but you still have to pay all that stuff on your own now, like your food and your medical and all that, depending on your circumstance. Like if you have kids or whatnot, obviously they get medical and probably help you out a little more if you made under a certain amount in your household. But if you're on your own, I mean, $10, $20, it's the same thing. But it's almost better making $10 because the government's going to give you the other 10 anyway. So what I'm getting at is, I would like to have businesses, multiple businesses, to give people in a poor, disadvantaged situation opportunity where others have turned them down, within reason. I would give them that chance. I would take that risk, and I would give them that chance, because sometimes that chance is all that people